Hello, highlighters. Welcome back. And if you're new here, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Hallie, also known as the Highlighted Pinup. And normally what I do is answer weird and different questions about hair. But lately, you guys have been asking me for some makeup tutorials. I've been a little hesitant to do this because I'm not a makeup artist and I don't want to pretend like I am or say that I am, so I'm not. So all the techniques that I'm using are just going to be things that I've kind of picked up over the years and things that work for me. I have a ton of respect for makeup artists, so I'm not trying to encroach on their space. This is just how I do my makeup. So with that disclaimer, we can get started. Over the weeks, I'll be doing different looks and showing you guys the different degrees in which I wear makeup. Today, I'm going to do my basic one. This is what I normally wear for work. It will include my brows and how I wear them on a daily basis. And just kind of low key, I don't do a lot for work because I sweat it off anyways and I don't like it on my skin all the time. So if you notice in this tutorial, you realize I don't use foundation because most of the time I don't. So when I start getting into more glamour looks or things like that, I'll start using more like concealers and foundations and things like that. But day to day, this is pretty much what I wear. And on my TikTok videos, if I am wearing makeup at all, this is usually the look that I have. Also, if you're like, oh my God, she's got a lot of MAC. I'm not super brand loyal. What it was is a very, very good friend of mine used to work for them for a long time. So she gave me a lot of goodies. So sometimes I use MAC products, sometimes I don't. But that's why I'm not super like, go buy all the MAC. It's just what I have. So that helps you guys. I'm just going to show you the palettes and what I use so you can get an idea for the color schemes. But ultimately, you can do whatever you want. I don't wear foundation or concealer every day, but I do wear sunscreen every single day. So that's already on my face. I like to apply it pretty much just after my shower, after I've cleaned my face. And I let it absorb for 5 to 15 minutes before I start my application. So that way nothing's too oily. And I don't use anything fancy. I think it's like copper tone just for faces, like whatever I pick up in the drugstore. So if you're not wearing sunscreen, start wearing sunscreen. Now to the goods. Because I don't have eyebrows and I shave off the little that I do have, I always have to use a base underneath it. Also, I'm super oily, so if I don't, my whole eyebrows just like slide down. So the one I've been using is the 24-hour extended eye base from MAC. And all I do is take a little like that, and I put it on one side. And bring it up to where I think my arch is going to be. And then the same thing for the other side. And just kind of rub it all in. So again, I do that all over so that way wherever I lay my brow down, it sticks. I don't like face primers for this because they're formulated differently and they always seem to get almost too runny or soft. So I always just stick with an eye primer around there. And if I'm going to use a face primer, then I do it around that. And then I just kind of comb through what little baby hairs I do have. And what I do for my brows on a normal day-to-day is the e.l.f. pencil. Just this one. I love other brands like Anastasia or Benefit, things like that. But I go through brow pencils so fast, it's just not economical for me to use super high-end ones. And so the e.l.f. has been my go-to because it's so inexpensive and I just burn through them. So that's why I use it and I really like it. I think the results are really good. This is just, again, the everyday brow that I normally do. So now that I feel like the base is pretty tacky, it's dry so it doesn't just run when I start applying, I'm gonna start applying my brow. So just, well, pick it up a little bit. And I start from here. And I just do soft strokes. I match up the other side. And then I go in through the top. And this is how I create my arch. It took me a long time to figure out how I wanted my brows to look. When I first started, they were very like Disney supervillain or kind of like Jafar. So trial and errors. So what I started doing is just like kind of looking up my inspirations and icons from the 50s. And then I just start filling it in. I'm like, I can't see very well in my mirror behind this. So once I get the same basic shape that I want, I kind of just brush through it and smear the product around. And I'm not super worried about like if there's any roughness or anything like that, I'll clean it up. And then I do the same on the other side. Just do short little strokes instead of trying to go for broke and do really long lines. And I try to keep my brows relaxed while I'm doing this, so I'm not like really high up trying to do it, so that way I don't get some weird funky shape. I'm not super big on like getting up into the mirror and being like really, really close about it, just because if anyone's that close to my face, they shouldn't be there anyway. So always try to take a step back and see how everything is like blending together and looking. And that's pretty much it. That's really how I draw on my brows. It's taken a lot of practice to get that shape where I want it. So if you're still struggling with that, just kind of figure out what's gonna work for you and how you wanted to frame your face. That's again, like I took my inspiration from the 50s, but whatever your icon is on that, go for it. And then I use the Benefit Highbrow. This is getting down to the nitty gritty. And I just go underneath the whole thing and I line it. And I take this brush, this little flat brush. That's another thing. Like I'm not a makeup artist, so like I don't know what half of these things are called. And then I bring it down through here so that way I can kind of highlight and accent my eye. And then I just blend it all the way in through here. And this is the time too that if like, that's a little thick, I want it a little finer, I start doing those types of things with it. And then I clean up right here, blend that out. Now, right in through, like right there, I took a little bit too much in my brow, so I'm just gonna take my pencil again and just kind of tap it. And I filled it back in, so I'm not worried about it. And ultimately, like, are my brows like super identical and symmetrical? They sure aren't. Could I care less? Eh. And that's how I do it. So sometimes I try to be really meticulous about them, or I try to get in there and just like make them perfect and even. But ultimately, day to day, I can't be bothered. As long as they look like they're kind of in the same wheelhouse, I'm good to go. Then for the top, this is like some drugstore. What is this? Studio wear. I don't even know what brand it is. I think it was Revlon. And it's just like a white shimmery powder. I take a brush that kind of looks like that. And then I just do right under the brow bone. and just kind of blend back in the highbrow. Now onto kind of where I start going from there, depending on how severe I wear my look. Again, I pretty much wear it pretty light for day to day. This is the eyeshadow. I have no idea what this palette is, so we're just gonna skip over it. It's from MAC. It looks like this. And so I'm gonna start off with this color. It's kind of this peachy color. It doesn't really read like that on camera. And I'm just gonna go right under where I laid that highlight down. Same brush that I did to use that one. And just kind of floof it out. Then a lot of times I'll slip into something now more like this brush. It's a little flatter. Pick a color, any color will do. I usually go for that one. It's not quite terracotta, but it's close. And then I'm not super like death grip further back on my brush. And I put that right into my crease. Again, because I draw my brows so much higher than what they were naturally, I tend to work it up a little bit higher. So that way it doesn't look weird. It's a proportion thing. And I'm just kind of like wiggling the brush, not doing a lot of tension or anything like that. Re-applying if necessary for powder on the brush. That seems about good. I'll go back to that color, kind of tap with this brush and go right in through here and just kind of blend that edge so it's not super disconnected. That's about that for what I do on my crease on a daily basis. A lot of times then I'll slip into a brush more like that. Bum, bum, bum. Again, sometimes I use the same palette, sometimes I don't. This is just a pure white eyeshadow from MAC. It's a loose pigment. I just press into the lid. And that's what I do on my lid. Or press it into the end of the brush and then I just wiggle it back and forth. And then I'll go into the corner and kind of blend them together. And that's pretty much the daily eyeshadow routine. Sometimes I pop a highlighter in the corner, which I'll do today. I can find the brush for it. Aha. This little guy, this bullet brush. So this is Soft Serve Shadow from MAC. This is just kind of a creamy, sparkly one. It's in a pot. And I'll just take my brush, swirl it around, and do right here. So nothing crazy, just adds another little highlight on the inside of my eye to make them look a little bit bigger. And then I'll go into my liner and mascara. So for my eyeliner, a lot of times I bounce between two. The one that I'm gonna use is the NYX. This is the vinyl liquid liner. I'm not gonna lie, I prefer the matte one more, but I grabbed the one on accident and it's fine. I'm living with it. So I'm gonna pull it out. It's a little brush, like so. And then because I don't like a lot of liner on just my basic look, I'm gonna go in through the corner and make a soft feathery line on both sides. Also, I've been doing this a very, very long time. Wing liner was like a struggle. So it's not one of those things if you're still working on it, just keep trying. And then I'll go in and scoop back Here's where I need to be able to see. I'm using my mirror behind me. That eye is a little wonky because I've never done a makeup tutorial before. So I'm just gonna go in. I'm not like stressed about it at all. All I'm gonna do is take a little flat brush with some concealer. And just clean up the top line a little bit. This is always pretty much how I do it normally if I make this mistake. I'm going to switch into a different flat brush because I don't like that one. And then I just clean up that line. And it looks even enough for me. That's one of the other things. I don't like put myself down or nitpick it too much. They're even enough. My eyes are just different shape naturally, so we're gonna roll with it. And then I put on my mascara. This one that I've been pretty obsessed with is the Marc Jacobs one. Does it have a brand? Noir. Velvet Noir mascara. It's Marc Jacobs. Just wiggle it around, do some turning on the brush. I see a lot of girls who are able to like do this number. I don't possess that skill. So I just do it like this. I would say I got a little bit that's right on my lid. So I wait till it dries and then I take like the end of a spoolie and I just kind of like flake it off and then it comes right off and I don't worry about that. So if that's a struggle for you, try not to get it when it's wet. Try to get it to where it dries and then you can just kind of smear it off. And that's pretty much just what my eyeshadow looks like on the day-to-day basis. And then sometimes I'll add a little bit of a highlight and legitimately a little bit. I don't go for broke normally on my working days. So this one I'm going to use. I've been talking about it a lot. I love it. It's the Atomic Beauty Cosmetics Pegasus. So I take a brush like this. Not a fan brush and normal people use. Oh no. One like this. Just kind of get the product on it and then put it right in through here. And sometimes for work, feeling a little bit like I want a little bit more highlighter. And in which case, I have this Laura Mercier. Let me just start adding letters into someone's name. This is the translucent. It's not, this is the new one they came out with. It's really champagne-y. It's got some shimmer in it. And I'm going to take a floofier brush, tap it into the lid, and then just kind of go right in through there and give me a little extra highlight. And then once I've done with that, just to make sure that my brows don't go anywhere, I use a setting powder. This one just so happens to be the Kat Von D Lock-It. This is the translucent setting powder. Take a brush. Whoa. Seen better days, but I love it. And then I just put on my brows. And kind of in through my T-zone where I get super oily. And that's about it. That is how I do my makeup on a daily basis. So next time I'll be upping it a little bit. We'll be putting a little bit more into it, more foundation or maybe some concealer, stuff like that. And if I am just wearing this makeup for work, a lot of times what I'll do is then for a lip, just take something that's kind of pinky and nude and then just gloss them a little bit. For work, a lot of times I can't be bothered with reapplication, so I don't wear a lot of lipstick to work just in general. So that's kind of the roundup and how I do my makeup on a daily basis. And one of the things you guys have been asking for. So I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. And welcome to the new segment on this YouTube.